I'm 70. I don't go visiting around. Here's why. Reaching 70 years old feels like crossing into a new chapter of life, a chapter filled with quiet reflections, lessons learned, and a simpler pace. It's not that I've lost the desire to see people, catch up over coffee, or embrace those I care about. Rather, I've discovered that the act of visiting around isn't as simple or fulfilling as it used to be. It's not always a matter of energy, but rather a shift in how I value time, relationships, and peace in this stage of my life. Let me take you through the reasons why I've stepped back from visiting and how it's helped me find contentment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. A slower rhythm feels right. As the years have passed, I've learned that life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be savored. At 70, the pace of my days has naturally slowed, and with that comes a deeper appreciation for simplicity. The hurried days of my youth, when time felt infinite and energy seemed boundless, have given way to something gentler, something more deliberate. I no longer wake up with a checklist of things to accomplish or places to go. Instead, I begin my mornings by sitting quietly with my coffee, watching the sunlight filter through the trees outside my window. There's a profound beauty in the stillness, one I never fully noticed before. In these quiet moments, I've found that slowing down isn't just a necessity of aging, it's a gift. Visiting others, once a routine part of my life, now feels like stepping into a rhythm that no longer matches my own. It's not that I don't enjoy the company of family and friends. I do deeply. But the preparation, the effort, and the energy it takes to maintain a social routine feel at odds with the pace I've come to embrace. Life at this stage isn't about cramming as much as I can into each day. It's about finding meaning in the time I have. When I was younger, I felt an obligation to show up, to be present for every birthday, dinner, or casual coffee. I wanted to be seen, to connect, to be a part of something bigger than myself. But now, I find that the connections I cherish most don't require my physical presence as often. A heartfelt phone call or a thoughtful letter carries as much weight as a visit, sometimes even more. These quieter forms of connection allow me to stay close to the people I love without disrupting the peaceful rhythm of my days. There's also a certain peace that comes with no longer rushing from one place to another. I've learned that life's most precious moments often happen in stillness. The way the light shifts as the day moves on, the sound of the wind through the trees, or the soft hum of familiar surroundings. These are the moments I would miss if I were constantly moving, constantly doing. I've come to understand that visiting others, while joyful, can sometimes feel like stepping back into a busier, more demanding world. It's a world where schedules have to be aligned, conversations flow quickly, and the space to simply be is rare. At 70, I no longer feel the need to keep up with that pace. Instead, I choose to remain where life feels steady and calm. There's a kind of wisdom that comes with aging, a knowing that not every invitation must be accepted, and not every moment needs to be filled with activity. I've let go of the guilt that used to accompany declining visits. It's not about being unkind or disinterested. It's about honoring my own limits and choosing a life that feels authentic to me. This isn't a withdrawal from the world. It's an intentional decision to engage with it on my own terms. Sometimes when I look back, I realize how much of life I spent chasing time, always rushing to the next thing, always feeling like there wasn't enough. But now I've learned to treasure the present. By embracing a slower rhythm, I've discovered that time expands in the quiet moments. There's no urgency, no need to be anywhere but here. The choice to slow down, to visit less, isn't about isolation. It's about presence. It's about being fully here, fully alive in the spaces I've created for myself. At 70, I've learned that life's richest joys often come not from doing, but from simply being. And that, to me, feels just right. 2. Energy is precious. There's a truth that becomes undeniable as we age. Energy, once taken for granted, becomes a finite resource. It's not something I used to think about much in my younger days. Back then, I could fill a day with errands, social visits, and late-night conversations, and still wake up the next morning ready to do it all over again. Now, at 70, the choices I make with my energy feel more intentional, more deliberate. When I wake up in the morning, I don't rush to fill my schedule. Instead, I listen to my body. There are days when I feel strong and eager, ready to tackle a walk outside or a long phone call with a dear friend. But there are also days when even the thought of leaving the house feels like too much. And that's okay. I've learned to honor my limitations, not fight against them. Visiting someone often requires a level of energy I no longer have at my disposal. It's not just the act of traveling from one place to another. It's the mental and emotional energy it takes to engage fully, to be present, to listen deeply. These are things I value, but they take more out of me now. I don't want to show up somewhere only to feel exhausted or unable to enjoy the moment. I'd rather save that energy for the things that truly bring me joy and fulfillment. I also find myself being more selective about how I spend my energy. At this stage of life, every choice feels more significant. It's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing that my time and energy are limited, and I want to use them wisely. Instead of scattering my attention across countless interactions, I've chosen to focus on the relationships and activities that matter most to me. That might mean a heartfelt phone call with a grandchild or spending an afternoon lost in a good book, things that replenish me rather than drain me. There's a beauty in this kind of mindfulness. By being intentional with my energy, I've discovered a deeper sense of peace and contentment. I no longer feel the need to be everything to everyone. Instead, I focus on being fully present in the moments and connections I choose. And that, to me, feels like the best use of my energy. 3. Modern social expectations feel different. The way people socialize today is not what it used to be. I often find myself reminiscing about the days when visiting was simple. Back then, there was an unspoken understanding. You didn't need an invitation to stop by. You showed up at someone's door, maybe with a plate of cookies or just a warm smile, and they welcomed you in without hesitation. It wasn't about appearances or formality, it was about connection. Now, visiting feels different. It's no longer spontaneous. It's planned, scheduled, and at times, even rehearsed. There's an expectation to make everything look perfect. A tidy home, a prepared meal, the right clothes. These little pressures may seem small to some, but to me, they take away from the joy of the visit. I don't want to feel like I have to perform when I see the people I care about. I want to feel comfortable, authentic, and at ease. Social gatherings too have changed. Conversations seem faster, more surface level, as if everyone is trying to fit their stories into a limited amount of time. There's less space for the deep, meaningful exchanges I crave. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the way the world has shifted. But it makes me yearn for the simplicity of the past when time felt slower and connections felt more genuine. I've also noticed that many homes today aren't designed for people like me. Stairs that are difficult to navigate, chairs that are too low, and loud, bustling environments can make visiting more challenging than it used to be. I often find myself worrying about whether I'll be comfortable, whether I'll be able to hear well in a noisy room, or whether I'll feel out of place. These little worries can overshadow the joy of the visit itself. This isn't to say that I don't value connection. I do, deeply. But I've started to find new ways to connect that feel more aligned with where I am in life. A handwritten letter, a thoughtful phone call, or even a video chat allows me to stay close to the people I care about without the added stress of today's social norms. These quieter, more intimate forms of connection feel truer to me, and they become a cornerstone of how I maintain relationships. The world may have changed, but I've learned to adapt in ways that preserve my sense of peace and authenticity. I've let go of the need to keep up with modern expectations and instead focus on creating connections that feel meaningful and real. After all, it's not about how we connect. It's about the love and care we share in the process. And that, to me, is what truly matters. 4. The comfort of my own space. Home has taken on a new meaning for me in these later years of life. It's no longer just a place where I live. It's where I find solace, familiarity, and peace. Over time, I've come to understand that no matter how warm or welcoming someone else's space may be, it can never quite replace the comfort of my own. My home is a reflection of who I am, each corner filled with memories, each object tied to a story. When I sit in my favorite chair by the window, with the soft light streaming in, I feel grounded. It's not just a piece of furniture. It's a space that holds me in ways no other place can. The smells of my kitchen, the gentle creaks of the floorboards, and the way the sun warms the room in the late afternoon. All of these small, ordinary things bring me a sense of belonging. I don't have to adjust myself to fit in here. My home fits me. The idea of leaving this sanctuary to visit someone else, as much as I might love them, feels more daunting now than it did before. Their home might be lovely, but it's unfamiliar. Will their chairs be comfortable? Will I have to navigate stairs or awkward spaces? These questions linger in my mind more than they used to, and the prospect of stepping out of my comfort zone sometimes outweighs the joy of the visit itself. It's not that I don't care about others, it's that my home has become my retreat, a place where I can fully relax and be myself. The world outside feels busy, noisy, and unpredictable, but within these walls I find peace. It's a kind of contentment that's hard to explain but easy to feel when you're here. My home is where I'm happiest, and I've learned to honor that. 5. Physical challenges. As much as I'd like to ignore it, my body doesn't move with the same ease it once did. I feel it in my knees when I climb stairs, in my back when I sit too long, and in the way I tire more quickly than I used to. These changes are subtle at first, but over time, they shape how I live my life. They make me think twice about the things I used to do without hesitation, like visiting friends or traveling across town. Every outing now feels like it comes with a checklist. Do I have enough energy for this? Will I have to sit for long periods? Will I be able to navigate their home without feeling pain or discomfort? These aren't just minor considerations. They're real, tangible barriers that make visiting more complicated than it once was. I also find myself more attuned to the environments I enter. Many homes aren't designed with the older adults in mind. Stairs can feel like mountains, soft couches can be hard to get out of, and small, crowded spaces can make me feel unsteady. It's not just about convenience, it's about safety and dignity. I don't want to feel like a burden, constantly asking for help or accommodations. And so, more often than not, I choose the path of least resistance, staying home. It's not always easy to accept these limitations. There's a part of me that still feels young, that wants to move freely and do all the things I once did. But I've learned to be gentle with myself, to acknowledge that my body is doing its best, even if it's not as strong or agile as it once was. By accepting these changes, I've found new ways to live fully within the bounds of what I can do. Staying home doesn't mean giving up on relationships or experiences, it just means approaching them differently. I've come to appreciate the small gestures that make life beautiful. A phone call from a friend, a quiet moment in my garden, or a handwritten note sent to someone I care about. These things may seem small, but they carry immense meaning. They remind me that connection isn't about where we are. It's about the love and care we share, no matter the distance. 6. Prioritizing relationships that matter. As I've grown older, One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is that not all relationships are created equal. When I was younger, I felt a responsibility to nurture every connection, to keep every relationship alive no matter the cost. But as time passes, you come to realize that some connections bring you energy and joy, while others seem to drain you without giving much in return. At 70, I've made peace with the idea that it's okay to let some relationships fade while focusing deeply on the ones that truly matter. This isn't about holding grudges or harboring resentment. It's about choosing to invest my time and energy in the people who lift me up. There's a beauty in nurturing relationships that feel reciprocal, where care flows both ways. These are the bonds that bring light to my days, the ones where a simple phone call can feel like a warm embrace. Over the years, I've also learned that quality matters far more than quantity. I don't need a large circle of acquaintances. I need a small group of people who truly know me, who love me, not despite my flaws, but because of them. These are the people who have stood by me through life's storms, who know my story and honor it. Focusing on these relationships has brought me a sense of peace I didn't know I needed. I no longer feel the pressure to attend every event or keep up with every distant connection. Instead, I've found joy in the quieter, more meaningful moments, spending time with family, having heartfelt conversations with close friends, or simply being present for the people who matter most. Letting go of certain relationships can be bittersweet, but it's also liberating. It allows me to create space for the connections that truly enrich my life. At this stage, I value depth over breadth, and I've learned to give myself permission to prioritize what feels right for me. 7. Technology offers new ways to connect. In a world that's constantly evolving, I've found comfort in embracing the tools that allow me to stay connected without always needing to be physically present. Technology, once intimidating, has become a lifeline in ways I never expected. At first, I resisted it, feeling that it could never replace the warmth of a face-to-face visit. But over time, I've come to see it as a bridge, a way to stay close to the people I love, even when I can't be there in person. Video calls, for instance, have become a window into the lives of my children and grandchildren. Seeing their faces light up, watching them share their stories and accomplishments, it's a gift I cherish deeply. It's not the same as being there, but it's enough to remind me that love and connection can transcend distance. I've even learned to laugh at myself when I fumble with the technology. My grandkids think it's funny, and their laughter is enough to make the effort worthwhile. Text messages and social media have also become part of my daily life. I used to think these things were impersonal, but I've realized they're simply another way to say, "I'm thinking of you." A quick message from a friend or a photo shared by family can brighten my day in ways I never expected. It's a reminder that I'm still part of their lives, even if I'm not physically present. Perhaps my favorite form of connection, though, is the handwritten letter. In a world dominated by screens, there's something timeless and deeply personal about putting pen to paper. I've started sending letters again, not out of necessity, but because they feel special. Writing a letter forces me to slow down, to reflect on my thoughts and feelings, and to share them in a way that feels genuine. When I receive letters in return, I treasure them as keepsakes, proof that the connection between us is real and enduring. Technology and tradition don't have to be at odds. They can complement each other, offering different ways to stay connected depending on the moment. I've learned to embrace both, finding joy in the convenience of a video call while still holding onto the magic of a handwritten note. These tools have allowed me to maintain relationships in ways that feel authentic and meaningful, even as my ability to visit in person has lessened. In the end, it's not about how we connect. It's about the love and care we share. And that, I've discovered, can happen in countless beautiful ways. 8. Reflecting on loss. At 70, loss has become a familiar companion quiet shadow that follows me through life. It's not just the loss of loved ones, though those absences are felt most deeply. It's also the loss of routines, abilities, and parts of myself that I once took for granted. With each goodbye, there's a reminder of how fragile and fleeting life is, and that realization has shaped the way I approach my days and my relationships. When I think about visiting others, I sometimes feel the weight of these losses. Stepping into a home where someone I loved once lived, or gathering with friends who remind me of the ones who are no longer here, can stir a sadness that lingers long after the visit is over. It's not that I don't treasure the connections I still have. I do, but there's a heaviness in knowing that some people I'd love to see again are no longer within reach. Their absence is a silence that no conversation can fill. Over time, I've learned to honor these losses in quiet, personal ways. I light candles for those who've passed, their flickering flames a reminder that their light still lives within me. I look through old photo albums, letting the memories wash over me, bittersweet as they are. I speak their names aloud, as if to keep their presence alive in the air around me. These small rituals help me carry their memory forward, even as I navigate the changing landscape of my relationships. Loss has also taught me to be more present with the people who are still here. Every conversation, every shared moment feels more precious because I understand how quickly it can all change. I've become more intentional about expressing my love and gratitude, making sure that the people I care about know how much they mean to me. In a way, loss has deepened my capacity for connection, even as it has narrowed the circle of those I connect with. Visiting around may remind me of who is missing, but it also reminds me of who remains. By focusing on the relationships that bring me joy and comfort, I've found a way to navigate the grief that inevitably comes with a long life. Loss has shaped me, but it hasn't broken me. Instead, it's helped me see the beauty in the time and love I still have. 9. Protecting my peace. As I've grown older, I've come to understand the value of peace, not just as a fleeting moment of quiet, but as a state of being that nurtures my mind, body, and soul. Protecting that peace has become a priority, one I guard fiercely in this stage of life. It's not about shutting people out or withdrawing from the world. It's about creating boundaries that allow me to live with intention and harmony. Visiting others, while often joyful, can sometimes disrupt that sense of peace. The preparations, the travel, and the energy required to engage fully can feel overwhelming. Even the anticipation of a visit, wondering if I'll feel comfortable, if the day will go smoothly, can create a sense of unease that lingers in the back of my mind. I've learned to recognize when these feelings arise and to honor them rather than push through them out of obligation. Peace for me is found in the simple rhythms of my day. It's in the quiet of the morning when the world is still waking up. It's in the sound of birds outside my window, the pages of a book turning softly in my hands, or the warmth of a blanket on a chilly evening. These moments, small and ordinary, bring me a sense of grounding that I struggle to find in the busyness of social interactions. By protecting my peace, I've also given myself the space to reflect and grow. I've discovered new passions, like painting and gardening, that fill my days with purpose and joy. I've deepened my understanding of myself, learning to listen to what I truly need rather than what others expect of me. And I've found a contentment that doesn't rely on external validation or constant activity. It comes from within. This doesn't mean I don't value connection. On the contrary, I cherish the relationships that bring me peace rather than disrupt it. I've learned to say no to invitations that feel more like obligations, choosing instead to invest my time in the people and activities that align with my sense of calm. It's not always easy, but it's a choice that has brought me immeasurable happiness. In protecting my peace, I've found a way to navigate the complexities of aging with grace. I no longer feel the need to chase after every opportunity or be present for every occasion. Instead, I focus on creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. And in doing so, I've discovered that true peace is not something you find, it's something you create. 10. Finding joy in simpler connections. As I've aged, I've come to appreciate the beauty of simplicity, especially when it comes to connections with others. The fast-paced gatherings and elaborate social events that once excited me now feel like a whirlwind that I'm no longer drawn to. Instead, I've found joy in the quieter, more intimate forms of connection. Those moments that don't require fanfare, just presence. There's a special kind of magic in the simple gestures that make up my days. A neighbor waving hello as they pass by, a warm smile exchanged with the cashier at the grocery store, or the comforting ritual of calling a dear friend to check in. These interactions may seem small to an outsider, but to me, they're deeply meaningful. They remind me that connection isn't about grand displays or constant activity. It's about the genuine exchange of care and kindness. I've also discovered the beauty of solitary connection, moments where I feel close to others, even when I'm physically alone. Writing a letter to my grandchildren, imagining their delight as they read my words, fills me with a quiet joy. Looking through old photo albums and reliving cherished memories reminds me of the love that has surrounded me throughout my life. Even sitting quietly with my thoughts, reflecting on the people I hold dear, feels like a form of connection. These simpler connections have taught me to savor the present. I no longer feel the need to keep up with every trend or attend every gathering to feel close to others. Instead, I focus on the depth of the moments I do share. A heartfelt conversation over the phone, where laughter flows freely and stories are exchanged, feels more fulfilling than any crowded event ever could. It's these moments that stay with me long after the conversation has ended. I've also learned that connection doesn't always have to be with others. It can be with the world around me. Sitting in my garden, feeling the sun on my face and the earth beneath my hands reminds me that I'm part of something much larger. The gentle rhythm of nature, its cycles of growth and renewal, mirrors the connections in my own life, teaching me to appreciate each season for what it brings. Finding joy in simpler connections has allowed me to let go of the pressures and expectations that once weighed on me. I no longer feel the need to prove my worth through endless social engagements or constant activity. Instead, I've embraced a life that feels authentic to who I am now, one filled with quiet moments of love, gratitude, and presence. At 70, I've realized that connection isn't about how much you do or how many people you see. It's about the quality of the interactions, the sincerity of the exchange, and the lasting warmth it brings to your heart. These simple, meaningful moments have become the foundation of my life, and they're more than enough to make me feel fulfilled. In them, I've found a deep and abiding joy that doesn't need anything more. Embracing a new way of being. As I sit and reflect on why I've stepped back from visiting around, I realize it's not about withdrawing from the world or the people I love. It's about honoring this stage of life and the wisdom it brings. At 70, I've come to understand what truly matters: the depth of my relationships, the beauty of a slower pace, and the peace that comes from living authentically. I no longer feel the need to fill my days with constant activity or endless social obligations. Instead, I choose to focus on the moments and connections that nourish my soul. Whether it's a heartfelt phone call, a handwritten letter, or the quiet comfort of my own home, these are the things that bring me joy and fulfillment. Life at this stage is about embracing simplicity, cherishing the present, and finding contentment in the small, meaningful moments. For those who wonder why I no longer go visiting around, this is my answer. I'm not distancing myself from life. I'm living it in a way that feels truest to me. And in this way of being, I've found a profound peace. A life filled not with noise or busyness, but with purpose, love, and gratitude. This, I've come to realize, is more than enough. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.